Hi, my name is Naomi Foreman, and this is my identity page. It contains a lot of great indicators as to where I come from, who I am, and what I plan on doing in the future. It's certainly not everything about me, but it's a start. Well, I am originally from New York, and no, not the city. I'm from just about an hour north from a small town called Lake Peekskill. I was born and raised in the same home my whole life, which is on a quiet dead-end road in a tree-covered, hilly neighborhood, and just about a block from a lake. Outdoors, swimming, nature, all big parts of my childhood. And this is what New York is to me. This is me as a little girl. This is off my porch, so I definitely think of New York as very lush. This is my lake, and my dad and I spend a lot of time swimming across it during the summers. This is a gazebo at the Garrison Art Center, which is right on the Hudson, and this is also the Hudson River. And this sort of natural beauty, lots of trees, is definitely what I think of New York. This is sort of in between. Here I'm sailing with my family and sailing on the Sound under bridges and things like that, so it's sort of that in between. And my best friend is also, she's from Manhattan, so I spent a lot of time traveling by train. This is the local train station, Metro North, going into the city, Grand Central Station. Definitely not a New York City girl, but I think I live in the perfect in-between, and I know the city a bit. Here is Jones Beach, and well, you can tell from most of my pictures they're pretty edited, and I definitely consider myself an amateur editor, something I like to fiddle with. So I also went to the city a lot for classes and museums because I was homeschooled. This is one of the most defining aspects of my childhood and who I am. Actually, if we're being considerate of word choice, which I do think is really important, I would actually define myself as an unschooler, which has a completely different philosophy, though I won't go into it now. Though I don't get offended by being called a homeschooler, and I usually refer to myself as a homeschooler because more people are aware of what that means. Technically, I'm an unschooler. So just like Henry Catano, I had a small little community that was more comfortable with itself and that had certain social norms different from other communities or the outside world. This is not to say that I was totally isolated from the rest of society. That's definitely a common misconception about homeschoolers, among other stereotypes I had to deal with as I got older. Suderman defines stereotypes as simplistic assessments, and that's what they are. All I ever heard was, aren't all homeschoolers crazy religious? Aren't all homeschoolers introverted, antisocial weirdos? And there's definitely some of those, but there's really a lot of diversity that just doesn't ever get represented. I also had my own ethnocentrism in regards to homeschoolers versus non-homeschoolers. The Suderman article says that this involves a two-part assumption, that our culture is better, which I totally did. I just thought everything we did was awesome and wouldn't understand why other people would choose to maybe do something else, and that everyone, and that sort of leads into the next part, is that other people want to be like us, which though I never really spoke to people I knew that went to school about whether or not that was true, I definitely assumed as a child that everyone would want to be homeschooled. And uh, I definitely still maintain some of those ethnocentric thoughts about homeschooling. I absolutely recognize that it has flaws and does not work for everyone and really depends on who you are and who your parents are and where you live. And I know that public and private schools have many positive things to offer. I spent a couple years of elementary school in a private school and a couple years of high school in a public high school. So I did experience some of that firsthand as well, but knowing isn't everything, like the Suderman article says, so I definitely still get defensive of what was the majority of my educational heritage. And the Lugones article also mentions, which I think for me sticks out right here, how you can be different in different worlds, yet always remain you. And I've definitely experienced that through the different types of education that I've participated in. Sometimes I am more distinctly different, but often it's just slightly different shades of me, from homeschooling to private school to public school, from New York to Denver to Spain, which is where I studied abroad. You know, there's always just a you, but a different take on you. Going to my family, growing up with parents, with the parents that I had, and that they were choosing to raise us with a homeschooling philosophy, I spent a lot of time with them and have pretty close relationships with both of them. This is my mom and I here again, and we share a lot of similar interests that, especially as I've gotten older, we've been able to bond over and things like that. My dad and I also spent a lot of time together growing up, more so than my brother. We built things together and swam in the lake together and things like that. I also have one older brother. Him and I are not super close in age, but we are close and have always gotten along pretty well. And we've grown up, we've definitely learned to appreciate what we have with each other. He's also an animator. My mom and my dad are also have different interests in art. My dad likes to build things, my mom likes to paint, and so they've all sort of kept me interested in art and film and all that jazz, and that's something I pursue on the side, and now I'm actually sort of pursuing more as a career path. Um, our household always had a lot of animals running around. This is my cat Bubba, and this is my first cat Molly. We only have 3 right now, and that's pretty small for us. We always also had dogs, ducks, lizards, turtles, raccoons, skunks, birds, etc. My whole family was always into rescuing and caring for animals, and I just soaked it up, loved taking care of animals and learning about the different types and things like that. And that really goes for the rest of my extended family too. My family is relatively small, so we try and stay close, even though we are pretty different from one another. Now that I've been away at school, that's a huge part of my relationship to home. You know, the dynamic's very different. These are some FaceTime screenshots. One of my close cousins had twins while I was away at school, so I'm sort of watching her girls grow up via Facebook and stuff, and that's different. I do try and spend time with them. I love babies. This is me babysitting. I babysat a ton growing up. These are my host granddaughters from Spain. And yeah, I definitely have a very mother mentality. And I think that also translates into my friendships. I'm a very lovey, very affectionate person. And my friends are really important to me. This is my neighbor. I'm just going to jump here for a sec. She's a bunch younger than me, but I've definitely become like another older sister to her, and we have a really great relationship and have a lot of interests we can share. Going back to my mom, this is me helping my mom with her yoga studio. Here is one of her first classes, and yoga's always been around. She's been teaching for decades, and I gradually got into it and learned to appreciate it more as I got older. And my tattoo actually is a Sanskrit saying that is used a lot in yoga and is also what my mom says at the end of every one of her classes. In Sanskrit, it says Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu, which in English means may all beings everywhere be happy and free, and may our thoughts, words, and actions contribute to their happiness and to their freedom. And this is my most positive general life filter. A constant reminder to be empathetic, compassionate, and understanding. It's also a reaffirmation of my deepest passion, which is connected to yoga and connected to this baking section. Animal rights and veganism is pretty much my life, and the Grind article, the author says he was compelled to use his freedom to free others, and that's exactly what I'm doing. I know that I've been privileged with the lifestyle, with the life that I have. I've been privileged to be a human, and I definitely want to and am trying to dedicate my life to giving a voice to those that don't have one right now in our society. So here I am at a walk for farm animals. This is a march that was in Madrid, Spain against bullfighting. I volunteered at a farm sanctuary, I interned at a farm sanctuary. This is sort of a quote picture that I found that definitely sums up how I feel. about my passion. Um, these are two strategically chosen images. This one is a frog that I found, and I just chose it because I definitely believe even the smallest of creatures deserve to be considered. These are Muscovy ducks that at the farm sanctuary I worked at had to be put back into their home at night so they wouldn't be attacked by larger coyotes and things that were around. And they didn't like it, and they often attacked us, and I got bitten a couple times. And it sort of represents what I often tell people, which is you don't have to love animals to know that they deserve rights. And I certainly don't. I'm not even a huge animal lover, like some people, and I don't love every animal, but that doesn't mean I won't fight for their rights or for them to be heard. And here, that's sort of exactly what I'm doing. My friend and I, not this friend, started a vegan and vegetarian club on campus, and I definitely spend a lot of time promoting that and raising awareness. I also do that a lot through baking. I do a lot of vegan baking and try and show people the sweet side of veganism. I like to bring my friends out to vegan dinners and cook with people, and friends are obviously a huge part of my life. Something else from the article that I loved was when they talked about how part of their culture was recognizing they don't own the earth, but that it owns us. And I definitely try and recognize that within um, my advocacy. I'm here sharing the world with other animals on it. I'm not here to be on the top of the food chain or anything like that. Also, I'm at Jones Beach picking up garbage, which is something I always do, though it probably doesn't have an impact. And these are just some random things. I like to take pictures or screenshots of things I think are funny or interesting. Yeah, I like public transportation, and I met some cool vegans. We had a potluck in Spain, and I like taking pictures of my food. I think something I got from all the readings was just recognizing the complexity of humans and of identity. Identity cannot be boiled down to this and that, to 70 pictures or a few words. As the Lithicum article addresses, you are not half of anything. For her, that was more explicit, being half Navajo and half African American, but I think it's just a great example of how people cannot be categorized. We cannot be fit into perfect little identity boxes. Something else that also came up for me through her article was the impact of first not knowing part of her heritage and then being made aware. And I know nothing of my heritage. That's sort of what I was going to say about what's absent, what's not on my page. I'm part Polish, part German, and part Ukrainian. My grandparents even spoke Ukrainian, but all I know about that culture is that they decorate eggs and eat pierogies. And it's crazy to think that I could have had this whole other huge part of my identity to identify with. Identity is fascinating, and I could certainly go on for ages, as I'm sure we all could, but thank you for listening, and I look forward to learning a bit about everyone.